the t-shirt tonight.
Hi.
Cool. Very cool. Sorry, let's get myself ready. Thank you for coming tonight. We're going to dive right into it. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun. Just as a quick announcement, next week we don't have team night because state conference is on. The nights are all free for state conference. So there will be a session on Monday night, Tuesday night and Wednesday night. Is at the 7 o'clock at the Mandurah Performing Arts Centre. Got some really great speakers this year. So there's Pastor John Cameron, and Pastor John, he is a pastor from New Zealand, and he oversees the largest and fastest growing church in New Zealand, the whole of New Zealand. Doesn't say much, but pretty. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. New Zealand's a great country, just not as big as Australia. That's all. No, but he's a phenomenal preacher, from what I hear. Very influential and great communicator. So he's one of the speakers. Donna Crouch is the other speaker. She's from Hillsong. I think, if I'm not wrong, she's the first female executive on the national exec for the ACC. She's done phenomenal work across Australia in lifting the profile of the church, I believe. Like, she's really done things to help the church engage in the community. And yeah, I think, if I'm not wrong, she was pioneering a lot of all the community care stuff that Hillsong has done, which has reached hundreds, if not thousands of people. Not just in Sydney anymore. I think lots of other churches have learned about it, and then obviously Hillsong's gone global. So she's had a big influence in that. And then the third speaker is Pastor David Storer, homegrown WA, and we love Pastor David. And for us personally, he is a bit of a granddad as we go on this journey, and he kind of looks after us and makes sure that we're doing okay. So it's really nice. But he's also, I find, like Pastor David, one of the things that he does better than anyone else I know is that he allows you to have a clear revelation of an aspect of God that you might not have that clarity before, but at the same time he still maintains a mystery about God, if that makes sense. So he helps us to understand God, but at the same time he doesn't dumb God down. And I think that's such a gift that's on his life. And I think it's important. Like, some people really make God sound like this little toy that you can manipulate and use, where some other people make God just sound so crazy and huge that you're like, I don't know if I go near to him. Pastor David finds this balance where he helps us to encounter God and to love God more, but still maintain the sovereignty and the hugeness of who God is. So I really love his preaching and teaching. So I'm not sure who's speaking at what session, but come to all. I know it's a bit of a drive, but it is really worth it to come to one of the sessions if you can make it. And if you understand, it's a bit of a trek down and then back up after as well. So Mitch will be playing at some of the sessions. And yeah, that's about it from us.
There's some credentialing.
Not from us, though.
Just some Centrepoint people, I guess.
Oh,
so,
cool. Which night is that, though?
That's on a Wednesday night. So,
cool.
Pastor Matt, Pastor Aaron, Pastor Sharon.
Cool.
All the rhyming people.
Matt?
Oh, not Matt.
Mathan, Sharon, Aaron.
No, Taryn has been.
And Taryn's.
Yeah, so if you do know them and you want to show some support, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Come down early, we had dinner.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Actually, I think we have a thing.
Oh no, you're not always on cue.
Yeah. Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh, and there's prayer meetings at 6:30 p.m. before the 7 p.m.
And they're powerful.
Yeah, they're good fun.
Yeah, very cool. All right, cool. So tonight we're going to be talking about this this idea, which I'll unpack in a moment, because the title of it kind of is going to give it away if I give you the title. So if you want to write a title, you can write it a bit later. It just makes sense, all right? On my brand new iPad, beautiful place. It looks like one of those, have you guys watched Pyramid Games and you have that little thing?
Yeah. Cool. The Singaporeans.
Too young.
Only the Singaporeans know what it is. That's only a game.
No, Australia showed it, but it's just really old.
Pyramid?
Yeah.
Game.
Alright.
Yeah.
I don't have much time. I shouldn't have gone down that track. But something that Beck and I are really excited about in Lift is, in this current season, is that we are releasing a lot more, not releasing, but empowering leadership in the house. At the start of our journey, we were advised, and we took it on. I think it's good advice, that just to see how people respond to a church plant, because it's a really big, crazy thing that none of us really knew where it was going, nor do we know where it is going still. And so we kind of wanted to wait a little bit to see how things would go, and then to start appointing leaders. And we're seeing a lot more of that, and we're really excited about that. Beck and I never wanted to set up a church that it was all about us and us doing everything. We wanted to lead with a team, and so really had to hold ourselves back in that kind of regard. And now we're really starting to have leaders that we see carry the heart, and all of you guys carry the heart of Lift. We do 100% believe that. You stuck along the journey, which is great. That's why you're here. And taking time out on a Tuesday night just to hear me talk about stuff, that's really cool. And I'm saying that what we also understand that we need to do is to continue to try to explain and show our heart. For the church, so that you can continue doing the great work that you're doing in the direction that we are all heading in together. It's really hard to define strict culture and say this is exactly it. Quite often it's easier to say what culture is not. So we are not this, we're not that, we're not traditional, we are not very, I guess, super respectful in that you need to be dressed up in a shirt and a tie. We're pretty chilled out, and yeah, look at Mitch, perfect example.
Sunday attire.
I'm just glad that you didn't rock on the bathrobe. That's I'm just glad about that. But there's one thing, and that's something that we're going to be sharing about a little bit about tonight. I'm just trying to set this up properly. But we want to see leaders that help people grow into leaders. It's something we're passionate about. We don't just want leaders that know how to do things, but it's not transferable. It's something that they kind of stick to it themselves. Rather, we want it to be something that we are all passionate about releasing, training, empowering the next generation of leaders. And that way we would have a constant flow of new leaders, new ideas, and fresh strength and energy through the life of the church. And so part of that is that we want to give you a little filter to help you think about the decisions that you are making, and how to, at the same time, I believe, help constantly, always be thinking about training up the next generation of leaders. I know it might sound a little bit crazy that we're talking about training a next generation of leaders. I don't mean generation as in age, I mean generation as in you guys, all of you have been with us from day dot, our first experience till, I know, 7 weeks or something like that, so it's not a massive journey, but I think it's good as well that we're not just seeing where we're at now, but where we want to go, and it is important to train other leaders up. And before I give you this question that will help you filter your actions and also non-actions. What I mean by non-actions is that sometimes we have to choose not to do something. And as a church, we have chosen not to do certain things. We've chosen not to bring flags in the church. We've chosen not to speak in tongues broadly and openly unless there is, just who we know is in that group that are okay with that. And all those decisions, those non-actions, actions, things that we've chosen not to do or just didn't do, those are all important. And I believe that we need to be, I'm trying to follow my notes too much, I'm going to go off in a little bit. But I think as leaders we need to learn how to be intentional about our actions and non-actions. That's a word that I've learned that is really important. I've served under many great people and great leaders, and I've seen the difference between a leader that knows how to train other people up and leaders that are just really good at getting things done. The difference is, I believe, an intentionality about their actions. They are able to break down why they are making certain decisions and are able to articulate them. So much so that someone else can come along and say, why are you doing this? And they'll be able to explain it. It is never just, we do that just because it's the way that we've always done it. There's always, a deliberateness about why we are doing what we are doing. And that deliberateness is always grounded, I believe in the best leaders, always grounded in the Word of God, or an understanding of who God is. And I think as leaders, we all need to learn how to be intentional about this. And the key word with intentional is that is a consciousness about the decision that you're making. I'm not talking about the heart behind. I'm not talking about do you know just the why, but actually have a consciousness about that why. Following me so far? And I know that sounds a little bit crazy because sometimes maybe your perspective of leadership is that it comes from the gut. And a lot of great leaders who have that kind of gut personality, and I've served under such leaders before, they're great to follow. They just seem to know how to make the right decisions all the time. But I think at Lift what we want to have is this ability to train future leaders up. And that means that we as leaders at all levels need to be able to articulate and talk about why we are doing what we're doing. Does that make sense so far? Okay, cool. So, at the same time, being deliberate about all that we're doing actually takes time. I was serving in a church for many years and went along with it. And when I started to become a leader, then I started to realize that I was doing a lot of things because I was following other leaders without understanding why I was doing it. And especially it was quite stark in contrast because coming from churches in Singapore and then coming to a church in Australia, obviously very different cultures, and I was just doing things that I thought that's how a church was supposed to run. And I came to Perth, started to serve under some great leaders, and sometimes they would ask me tough questions like, why are you doing that, Nate? Or why do you think like that? And yeah, quite often my answer would be because, thinking that, because answers all questions. And so it takes time to develop this process, but this process needs to start with each individual being ready to challenge what you're believing and to be able to think about how you can articulate these beliefs, these decision-making processes for other people to be able to follow. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So I've learned that every action that we do, whether action or non-action, brings about a reaction in people that we are influencing. Yeah. Everything. A lot of them are know what kind of decisions people are making. And that's why you can have a hangout with a person one-on-one, have a coffee, and not really talk about anything deep, but the person is actually taking in what is going on, and they're having a reaction to that time that you're having. We don't tell you to go catch up with people and make sure that you cover these 5 points. We just tell you to go catch up with the person. Just be a friend. And the relationship is so important. Why? Because through that interaction, there are messages that are coming across. We always carry messages, not just in the things that we say, but in the way that we're saying things and all of the other processes that are going on that we are not even conscious about. So understanding that everything we do carries a message, we need to be deliberate about what message we're putting out. So we need to be careful because our actions and non-actions, I'm just going to call it actions from now on because it's going to go really long, every action is being evaluated by the people around us. Yeah. Alright, so I've got a short clip to show you. I'm sorry for external world, you will not be able to see it, but you can hear it probably. Mm-hmm. I should have teed this up, I forgot. So many apples. It is the best thing ever. The apple cores. No, did I save it? Uh-oh. No, is the apple core not working? Your core is not working. Get an apple core. I made it funny.
Okay, well...
Can you guys hear this?
That you wish to address. Okay, well, I have this fear of being buried alive in a box. I start thinking about being buried alive and I begin to panic.
Has anyone ever tried to bury you alive in a box?
No, but truly thinking about it does make my life horrible. I mean, I can't go through tunnels or be in an elevator or in a house, anything boxy.
So what you're saying is you're claustrophobic.
Yes, that's it.
All right, well, let's go, Catherine. I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life.
Should I write them down?
Well, if it makes you comfortable, it's just 2 words. We find most people can remember them.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, you're there. Stop it! Stop it!
Stop it?
Yes, S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
So, what are you saying?
You know, it's funny. I say 2 simple words, and I cannot tell you the amount of people who say exactly the same thing you're saying. I mean, this is not Yiddish, Catherine. This is English. Stop it.
So, I should just stop it.
There you go. I mean, you don't want to go through life being scared of being buried alive in a box, do you? I mean, that sounds frightening.
Yes.
Then stop it.
I can't. I mean, it's been with me since childhood.
No, we don't go there. Just stop it.
If you want to watch the rest of it, it's like a 7-minute skit. It's good fun. But I think it just really portrays something that a lot of us do. We know how things work. And so we just tell people, that's just the way it is. We don't try to understand where they're at or the message that they are receiving. And I think as Christians, it's so important that, especially some of us, we come on a journey already, and it's a great journey, and then we start to forget how much difficulty it's taken us to get to this point. And so let's be thinking about these people that we're trying to lead, that we're trying to grow. And even for ourselves, I think there's a really good growing question. And the question is this: what am I enabling? Enable. So when you enable something, it means that you are giving it the power to happen. And if we think about the whole idea of what I am doing, my actions, actually creates a reaction. What I'm doing can enable something in you. Does that make sense? We don't always get to control exactly how a person reacts. There are some people that are, they carry certain experiences and baggages, and they will react in ways that you had no control over. But as much as possible, we ask ourselves the question, what am I enabling? We might be able to see how not to have such a conversation. That we saw on that clip. So just think about it. What do you think this poor lady would be thinking? You know, there was a point in that clip where she says, "What are you trying to say?" And he's like, "Is it that hard? I'm just telling you to stop it." And if you go to a counselor, you expect a person, let's assume that his heart is to really help her out. But his method of trying to help her out is not coming across. In fact, let's throw this out. What kind of messages do you think she would be receiving from that interaction?
You don't understand?
Or she might be feeling like she's like a bit ridiculous.
Yeah. She's being ridiculous or he's being ridiculous?
She is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a put down.
Yeah.
It's you're not good enough to even think about this. You're dumb. You're incapable. And so we need to be careful. What are some of the things that we do that makes people actually feel put down or devalued when we didn't even think about it? We're just steamrolling our way through life, and then we say things and we do things that can actually enable depression in people, can enable a worthlessness in people, can actually activate this sense of hopelessness about their situation, just because we were not careful about the messages that we were trying to carry. And we said this a few weeks ago, that good intentions are not good enough.
Yeah.
When we want to lead people, good intentions are not good enough. We need to be able to think through. I'm not saying that you have to take the weight of every person's reaction. What I'm saying is that we take responsibility for what we are doing as far as we know. And like I said, there are a lot of blind spots. We want you to still carry your life. We're not expecting you to be perfect at all. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning about all my blind spots and the things that I do that could, enable the wrong kind of things in people around me. It's not about that, but it's about taking responsibility for my end of the interaction as much as possible. Make sense? Yeah. So ask yourself this: what am I enabling? Let's throw this out. We've got about 10 minutes left. I wanted to just throw out a few scenarios that might pop up. The first one I will run through a little bit more because it is partly what we don't want to happen. But imagine that time that you want to invite new volunteers to the team. All right, very common scenario. It's probably a scenario that we're in right now. As a church, we need to populate our team so that we can run smoothly. And one of the things that we've chosen not to say at Lift is the word recruitment. I know that that's probably not something that we've actually said out loud, so I'm saying it now. We don't say recruitment. Why? Because what does that word bring out in people?
Job.
Yeah, it's a job, it's a task. It's a to-do list. It's we just need another pawn in our chess piece. Like just the word recruit. It's like, we're running a recruitment Sunday. It's like, yeah, join the army, all of you guys, give away your life to us. It doesn't sound that great. And it might already, let's say a person has had a bad experience in volunteer work previously, and they hear, they're going to recruit, oh my gosh, they're going to force this down my throat, they're going to burn me out. You don't know where a person's at. So as much as possible, on our side, we're going to say we want to invite people onto teams. Sounds a lot more like we want to value you as a person, we value what you carry, and so we want that skills and that talent on this team so that we can be the best that we can be all together. So that's something that we want to think about in enabling, and let's not just go down a track of we've done this before. And some of you might be familiar with what I'm going to call the trial and roster method. I didn't really think too much about it, but is that whole do you want to try this out? Just 1 week, just try it. Maybe you'll love it. And then, but before the end of the roster, at the end of that trial session, you say, okay, so now you're on fortnightly. Have you heard of that kind of recruitment method before? It happens, and unfortunately, it happens in my mind anyway. Sorry if anyone is from another church hearing this and you do that, but I find like that. What does that enable in a person? The job is more important than you. That's the message that you're carrying. We think that getting this done is more important than your opinion, than your worth. So think about that. It's like if we want to enable, we put the end goal in mind. We want this person to be a fully activated person in the church, serving, loving God. Then how do you match your part of the interaction to enable that to be seen in what's going on? That's what I'm talking about. Does it make sense? So when you're going to invite someone on the team, think about them first, put yourself in their shoes and how they might receive the message, and then think about, okay, so from my part then, how do I carry myself on this end of that interaction? Do your best, and then when that person reacts, and it might not be in a way that you want, that's fine. At least you can say that you've done everything that you could. You did not put them down, you did not Maybe they just got baggage, and it happens. And plenty of people that you try to be nice to, and then they bite you on the hand. Okay, so that's in terms of inviting people onto the team. Let's think about a few other scenarios. We can't really talk it through, but I want you to think about these. Let's say there was that time that you rock up to the setup time completely tired, completely low in energy. What is that message that is being conveyed to other people on the team? Do you realize how contagious your messages are And maybe there is a person that has been around for a shorter time than you, and they think that that's okay and that's natural. One thing that I found in my life was that I allowed myself to complain about being tired as just a normal interaction, because I was part of Centrepoint for a long time, and we were setting up in basketball courts and we were doing crazy setup stuff, and so it became for me natural to just talk about it as though it's a real downer thing. It's like, oh, we just have to get through this so that we get to do the fun stuff. And it's like, oh man, I'm so tired. Oh, my hands are so cold. Oh, I'm complaining about every little thing. And then I realized that, that's actually influencing the atmosphere that I'm around. And I need to be careful about that. All of us need to be careful about that. What about that time that you got really annoyed or frustrated at a person because they got something wrong? How did you react? What kind of messages? What are you enabling in the person? How are you talking about, your walk with God on a personal level? Are you making your walk with God sound really difficult and like there's so many pitfalls along the road? You have to be so careful. Not God's going to let you drop into one of those holes. I find that's really easy to have these messages flow through your life if you're not careful, and it enables the wrong response in the person.
I'm just shaking my head. Sorry.
What about when you're talking with your there are things that I have to do the budget for the church. I'm not going to delegate it to any of you guys. Not now. Maybe in 5 years down the road, one of you become a business manager and I'll be like, you're doing the budget. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But right now, I've got to do that, because if I give it to you, you're probably going to be just like, where do I go? And putting a failure on you. I'm not going to help you win. But why? What are you enabling? Are you helping the person in your influence circle become the best that they can be? Or are you actually putting on certain things that's going to help them stay down? Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not expecting us to become mind readers. I'm not expecting us to get this right every single time. Like I said, you can't control the responses from people. But I think one of the things that I was thinking about is this, that in the Bible, Jesus talks about how we are the light of the world and that we are not meant to be hidden. But I think sometimes because we are not careful, we hide our light. We're not helping people find out how to take that next step. We're not showing them the path. The whole idea of light is to show a person where they're going. Yeah. But we're not really helping some people out because we are not being intentional about what we are doing. Does that make sense? Now, you could think about 100 million scenarios, but we're going to completely run out of time. But that's just the thought that I was having. As we move along, we want to see more and more leaders. And there are going to be things that maybe Beck and I have chosen to do that doesn't make complete sense to you. We want you to know that you can always ask, so that you can know and that you can carry that message on to the next person. We don't want to have that kind of a talk of, that's just the way that it's done at Lift. Yeah. It's never just because Nate said so or Beck said so. Yeah. We don't want that. We want it to be, we do that because of that end goal in mind, because of that person. Yeah. We want people to understand the why, so that they can do the how properly with the right heart. You can have the right actions but still have the wrong heart, and you're going to find yourself frustrated, burnt out, and disgruntled with what's going on. And so we want you to be activated. We want you to know that we want to enable the best in you guys. And therefore, if you need answers, you need support, you need help, well, we're going to make ourselves available for you, because that's what we want to do. And so, yeah, that's a bit of a closing comment on this topic. We definitely, look, it can be an email, it can be just on a Sunday, if there's a moment where there's not too much going on, say, hey, I had this on my... As long as you do it respectfully, you're not like, why are we doing that? And none of that kind of attitude-y stuff. If you're genuinely like, hey, I don't really get why we're doing that. Yeah. Totally. And we want that to be a culture that we spread amongst our team, our future team that are coming in. Because some people are not going to understand. Why do you call it experiences? And do you guys know the answer? If you don't know the answer, please talk to us. We do certain things in certain ways because there is a reason for it. We try to be intentional about how we're building Lift. We were intentional about not running our kids' program right from the start so that we could actually put strength into it, so that we could actually get ready for it. We haven't launched small groups yet because we want to put strength into it. We want to get ready for it. We're not just doing it just because, oh, it was a good idea. It didn't come up from a gut feel. It came from a process of thinking through. And yeah, so that's it. Run out of time. So see you later, YouTube world.